I was trapped, suffocated by Marcus's control. His betrayal shattered me, but it also set me free. I escaped his grip when he moved to Chicago. My insomnia vanished, my laughter returned. In Portland, I was his puppet. In Asheville, I found my voice. Therapy untangled his lies, revealing my worth. I painted again, my canvases bursting with color. His cheating broke my last boundary, but I broke free. I rebuilt my life, brick by brick. New friends, bold designs, a solo art show, each step reclaimed my light. I met Caleb, a man who sees me, not a crutch. Marcus's email came, but I deleted it. I'm not that girl anymore. I'm a phoenix, rising from ashes. My art, my heart, my life, they're mine. Stay with us to find out how this story ends, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I owe you a strange kind of gratitude, Marcus. Your betrayal set me free. Since you've been gone, the weight of my world has shifted. The fog of my chronic insomnia has cleared, and I sleep deeply now, no longer haunted by restless nights. My hands, once trembling with anxiety, are steady. My shoulders, once hunched under invisible burdens, are squared. I laugh freely, the kind of laugh that bubbles up from the soul. My eyes, once dulled by exhaustion, sparkle with a fire I thought I'd lost. The music I used to play to drown out my thoughts now lifts me. I'm magnetic again, drawing in light instead of darkness. The constant dread, the eggshells I tiptoed on, they're gone. I'm no longer your puppet. Thank you for pushing me away, for forcing that unbearable distance between us. When you announced you were moving to Chicago for that job, it was my lifeline. I'd tried to leave you before, Marcus. I'd whispered it in fights, screamed it in moments of clarity. I told you I didn't love you, that I deserved more. But you had a way of chaining me to you. You'd linger in my apartment, sprawled on my couch like you owned it. You'd snatch my phone, my keys, my freedom, daring me to fight you for them. Call the cops. You'd taunt, knowing I wouldn't. Then you'd pull me close, murmur that you loved me, that it was you and me forever. I wanted to believe it. I tried to convince myself I could love you. But when you left for Chicago, when your physical presence no longer suffocated me, truth broke through. I ran, and I didn't look back. That distance was my salvation. I'm not blameless in this, and I won't pretend I am. I was spineless, Marcus. I had no boundaries, no sense of my own worth. I let you trample me. I let your manipulation, your neglect, your slow erosion of my spirit go unchecked. I was a doormat, and I let you dim my light. I'd scream about your cruelty, but I stayed. That's on me. You once said I'd put up with you because of how I grew up, because chaos felt like home. That cut deep because it was true. You held a mirror to my unhealed wounds, and it was excruciating. But that pain was a teacher. I won't make those mistakes again. So, thank you for that brutal lesson. I wasn't always the victim either. I lashed out. I remember that night in the Seattle hotel, when I found the messages on your phone. You'd been with someone else, and you lied to my face. I lost it. I threw a glass against the wall, shards scattering like my trust. I screamed things I'm not proud of, words sharp enough to wound. I was shattered, Marcus. You'd crossed the one line I'd drawn in the sand, no cheating. I begged you to let me go if you didn't want me. But you wouldn't. You held me, lied again, swore it wasn't true. You didn't love me, you needed me. I was your crutch, your servant, your emotional punching bag. You kept me tangled in your web because I made your life easy. Being with you was like drinking poison in slow sips. I couldn't see it then, didn't want to believe it was you. But you were draining me, Marcus. You'd insist you loved me, that you weren't using me, but your actions screamed louder than your words. Your demons were louder still. I hope you face them someday. You're not the man you convinced yourself you were. I used to wonder why you'd mutter, "I'm a good guy," out of nowhere. Now I know, you were trying to convince yourself, not me. If you don't confront those shadows, I hope life sends you someone who matches your chaos. That reckoning won't be kind. The unraveling started small, subtle. We met in a crowded Portland coffee shop, back when I was 24, and you were this charming stranger with a crooked smile. You were a photographer, always chasing the next perfect shot, and I was a graphic designer, scraping by on freelance gigs. You swept me up with your stories of traveling the world, your passion for capturing fleeting moments. I fell for the idea of you, not the reality. Early on, there were red flags. Your temper when I didn't text back fast enough, your insistence on knowing where I was. But I ignored them. I was lonely, and you filled the void. Our life together in that cramped Portland apartment was a slow descent. You'd critique my designs, calling them amateur, while offering no praise. You'd borrow my car without asking, leaving it on empty. You'd guilt me into cooking, cleaning, managing your bookings because you were too busy creating. I became your assistant, not your partner. My friends noticed I'd stopped smiling, but I brushed them off. I told myself this was love, that relationships took work. I didn't see how you were chipping away at me. The control was insidious. You'd check my phone, accusing me of flirting if I liked a coworker's post. You'd show up at my gigs uninvited, watching me like a hawk. Once, when I tried to break up with you, you sat in my living room for hours, refusing to leave until I calmed down. I felt like a prisoner in my own home. My body started betraying me, migraines, stomachaches, a constant knot in my chest. I was 27, but I felt decades older. When you got that job offer in Chicago, I saw my chance. You framed it as temporary, said we'd make long-distance work. I nodded, but inside, I was plotting my escape. The day you left, I felt a flicker of something I hadn't in years: hope. I started small, changed my locks, blocked your number. I told my friends everything, and they rallied around me. I started therapy, unpacking the years of manipulation. Each session peeled back another layer of your hold on me. The hotel incident was the final straw. I'd flown to Chicago to visit, hoping to talk things out. That's when I saw the text from her, someone you'd met at a gallery opening. You denied it, gaslit me, but I knew. I left that night, boarding a red-eye back to Portland. On the plane I cried, but not out of sadness, out of relief. I was done. When I landed, I deleted every trace of you from my life. You tried calling, texting, even emailing, but I was gone. You couldn't reach me anymore. Now, at 29, I'm rebuilding. I moved to a sunny loft in Asheville, North Carolina, where the mountains ground me. I'm freelancing again, but this time, my work is bold, unapologetic. I've started painting, something I hadn't done since college. My canvases are explosions of color, each stroke a reclaiming of my voice. I've made new friends, kind, vibrant people who lift me up. I'm dating again cautiously, but with an open heart. I'm learning to trust myself. I saw you pop up on social media recently, posting about your new chapter in Chicago. You looked the same crooked smile, same hollow charm. I felt nothing. No anger, no longing, just a quiet certainty that I'm free. I hope you find peace, Marcus, but I don't care enough to check. My life is mine again, and it's brighter than I ever imagined. I used to think you broke me, but you didn't. You cracked me open, and I rebuilt myself stronger. I'm not the girl who cowered under your shadow. I'm a woman who knows her worth, who dances in the light she fought to reclaim. Thank you, Marcus, for showing me how to save myself. Asheville became my sanctuary, a place where I could breathe again. The Blue Ridge Mountains, with their rolling green slopes, seemed to cradle me. I'd hike their trails on weekends, letting the rhythm of my steps drown out the echoes of your voice. My loft, perched above a bustling street filled with art galleries and cafes, was my haven. Its tall windows let in golden light, and I filled it with plants, books, and my paintings. Each canvas was a story, some chaotic, some serene, but all mine. I was no longer creating to please anyone else. My art was for me. Therapy was hard but transformative. My therapist, a soft-spoken woman named Clara, helped me untangle the knots you'd tied in my mind. She taught me to recognize the patterns, how my childhood, with its unpredictability, had primed me to accept your control. I'd grown up in a home where love was conditional, where I had to earn affection by being good. You exploited that, Marcus. You made me feel like I had to prove my worth to you, too. Clara helped me see that my value wasn't tied to anyone else's approval. I started setting boundaries, small at first, like saying no to a client who undervalued my work. Each no was a brick in the wall I was building around my newfound self-respect. My friends in Asheville were a lifeline. There was Lena, a potter with a contagious laugh, who dragged me to open mic nights at local bars. She'd cheer the loudest when I read my poetry, something I'd started doing to reclaim my voice. There was Theo, a barista and aspiring musician, who'd play his guitar on my balcony while we talked about life. They didn't know the full story of you, not at first, but they sensed I'd been through something heavy. They didn't pry, they just showed up, filling my days with warmth and possibility. Work became a source of pride. I landed a contract with a local brewery to design their branding, logos, labels, even murals for their taproom. It was the kind of project I'd dreamed of in Portland but never pursued because you'd convinced me I wasn't good enough. The brewery's owner, a gruff but kind man named Sam, trusted my vision completely. When the murals were unveiled, the crowd's applause felt like a validation of everything I'd fought to reclaim. I was no longer the timid designer who second-guessed every choice. I was bold, confident, and unapologetically me. Dating was trickier. I wasn't ready for anything serious, but I craved connection. I went on a few dates, mostly setups by Lena, who swore she knew the perfect guy. There was a hiker named Ryan, who was sweet but too intense about his fitness goals. There was a writer named Eli, who was charming but flaky. I wasn't heartbroken when those fizzled out. Each date taught me something about what I wanted, and what I wouldn't tolerate. I was done with charm that hid control, with promises that masked lies. I wanted someone who saw me, not someone who needed me to prop them up. One evening, about a year after I'd moved to Asheville, I got an unexpected message. It was from an old friend from Portland, Jess, who'd been one of the few to call out your behavior early on. She'd moved to Raleigh and was passing through Asheville for a weekend. We met at a cozy wine bar, and over glasses of Merlot, I told her everything. Jess listened, her eyes wide, then reached across the table to squeeze my hand. "You're a fucking phoenix," she said. "You rose from the ashes of that mess." Her words stuck with me. A phoenix. I like that. That night, I went home and painted. The canvas was massive, one I'd been too intimidated to touch. I mixed fiery reds, oranges, and golds, letting the colors bleed into each other. The painting became a bird, wings spread wide, rising from a bed of ash. It was messy, raw, and perfect. I hung it above my couch, a reminder of who I was becoming. But freedom, I learned, wasn't a destination, it was a practice. There were days when old doubts crept in, when I'd wonder if I'd ever fully heal. Therapy helped, but so did action. I started volunteering at a local women's shelter, designing posters for their fundraisers. The women there, with their stories of survival, mirrored my own. I didn't share much about you, Marcus, but I listened. Their resilience fueled mine. I realized healing wasn't about erasing the past, it was about building a future that outshone it. One afternoon, while sketching at a park, I met someone. His name was Caleb, a landscape architect with kind eyes and a quiet confidence. He was sketching, too, a blueprint for a community garden. We got to talking, first about art, then about life. He didn't push, didn't pry, but his questions felt genuine. We exchanged numbers. And over the next few weeks, we met for coffee, then hikes, then dinners at hole-in-the-wall restaurants. Caleb was different. He listened when I spoke, celebrated my wins, and never made me feel small. He didn't need me to fix him, he was whole on his own. With Caleb, I started to see what love could be. Not the suffocating, transactional version you'd offered, but something mutual, something freeing. We'd spend evenings on my balcony, sharing stories under the stars. He told me about his childhood in rural Georgia, about losing his dad young and finding solace in designing spaces that brought people together. I told him about you bit by bit. Not the whole story, not yet, but enough. He didn't flinch. "You're a force," he said once, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "I'm just glad I get to witness it." But even as I opened my heart to Caleb, I stayed vigilant. I'd learned the hard way that love could be a trap. I watched for red flags, set boundaries early. When Caleb canceled a date once, citing a work emergency, I didn't spiral like I would have with you. I trusted him, but I also trusted myself to walk away if I needed to. That balance, trusting someone else while trusting myself, was new, and it felt like power. Asheville's art scene kept me grounded. I joined a collective, a group of creatives who hosted pop-up galleries and workshops. My paintings started selling, not for fortunes, but enough to feel like validation. One piece, a swirling abstract inspired by the mountains, caught the eye of a gallery owner. She offered me a solo show. The idea terrified me, but I said yes. Planning the show consumed me, curating pieces, designing invites, even writing an artist's statement. For the first time, I wasn't hiding behind my work. I was stepping into the spotlight. The night of the show was electric. The gallery, A converted warehouse with exposed brick and soft lighting, buzzed with people. Lena and Theo were there, cheering me on. Jess drove in from Raleigh. Caleb stood by my side, his hand brushing mine. My paintings lined the walls, each one a chapter of my journey. The Phoenix piece was the centerpiece, drawing gasps and whispers. I gave a short speech, my voice steady despite the butterflies. I talked about art as survival, about finding light in the dark. The crowd applauded, and for a moment, I felt weightless. After the show, Caleb and I walked through downtown Asheville, the streets alive with buskers and laughter. We stopped at a bridge over the French Broad River, the water glinting under the moon. He turned to me, his eyes soft. "I'm proud of you," he said. "Not just for tonight, but for everything." I didn't know how to respond, so I kissed him. It wasn't a grand gesture, just a quiet moment that felt right. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of falling. Months turned into a year, and my life in Asheville deepened. Caleb and I grew closer, but I never lost myself in him. I kept painting, kept designing, kept volunteering. The shelter became a second home, and I started leading art workshops for the women there. Watching them create, seeing their faces light up as they discovered their own strength, was a mirror to my own healing. I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was thriving. One day, I got an email from you, Marcus. It slipped through my filters, landing in my inbox like a ghost. You were back in Portland, you said, and you'd been thinking about us. You apologized, sort of, in that vague way you always did. You wanted to meet, to clear the air. I stared at the screen, waiting for the old panic to hit. It didn't. I felt nothing but pity, not for you, but for the version of me who'd once been swayed by your words. I deleted the email without replying. You didn't get to write my story anymore. At 31, I'm not the woman you knew. I'm not the girl who shrank to fit your world. I'm a creator, a survivor, a force. My life is a tapestry of color and courage, woven from the threads of everything I've overcome. Asheville, with its mountains and its people, is my home. Caleb, with his quiet strength, is my partner, not my savior. My art, my voice, my heart, they're mine, and they're limitless. I used to think you were my story, Marcus. You were just a chapter, one I had to live through to write the rest. Thank you for the pain, the lessons, the cracks that let the light in. I'm not grateful for you, but for what I made of the wreckage. I'm free, and I'm never going back.